Hi everybody, and this is Alchemist 2 and back again with another movie review. I just recently watched Seventh Son, which sadly to say, like Jupiter Ascending, which I've already reviewed, was a box office bomb. Anyway, I absolutely loved it. I just thought it was a very interesting idea, very original idea, very mystical, fantastical setting, and the first apprentice of the spook, whom we're introduced to, played by Jonathan Winters so aptly. I love Jonathan Winters. He just was absolutely tremendous in this. Beau Bridges. Let's see, who else was in it? Beau Bridges. I can't remember, but anyway, it it was just outstandingly good, and the visual effects were nothing but stunning, and I was just swept away by the epic of it. There's one part of it that made me cry, but I won't go into it. It's about Tom and his relationship with his mother, but Tom is the next apprentice that the spook comes to recruit, and he comes into town. He says, "I'm looking for the seventh son of the seventh son. Which one of you is the seventh son?" And of course, reluctantly, Tom approaches and he says, I'm Thomas Ward. I am the seventh son. And then he looks at him from a distance and seeing, I thought you would be taller. And I just thought, yeah, way to degrade your next apprentice, dude. Yeah, just go ahead and chide him and emasculate him in front of his family. That's not cool. But I loved this movie. It was just really wonderfully done. The soundtrack was top notch. It was done by an Italian. It wasn't done by anybody I know, like James Horner or any of the bigwigs, John Williams, Hans Zimmer. These are my premier guys. Andre Desplat. Those are my favorite. But I'm just naming my favorite composers. Um, yeah, those are my top, by the way, and I just love them to bits. But nobody that I knew did this soundtrack, but it didn't matter. I enjoyed it anyway. It was just a movie that had a lot of good heart behind it, a lot of moral lessons. And one thing that really stuck with me in this film was what the mother said to her son. And she said, "All that you ever need is right here." And there's so much truth to that. All that we ever could want to bring to fruition exists within us. We just have to make it a reality by putting it into motion, and a lot of us don't. But I see myself manifesting a lot of what I want to come to pass, come to be, and it's really quite inspiring and amazing and incredible. But it's all about taking an inspiration and making it reality, and it can be done, and I'm seeing it. It's just very, very, very slight right now. It's just like waiting for a seed to grow. That's my best analogy, but it's the same thing with this character here with Thomas. And it kind of reminded me of the way it was done, the kind of mood it had. It reminded me of Van Helsing. I don't know why. It just maybe because there were a lot of creatures involved that were involved with the dark, and there was a lot of dark versus light, and an intermingling of the two. I won't say why, but it's just this kind of oxymoron wrapped within a conundrum, wrapped within identity crisis, and it's really telling of the person who wrote and directed this particular work of art, and it's really quite lovely to look at, and I give it 5 stars. I know the critics wouldn't agree with me. Critics, what do you do? I still give it 2 thumbs way up, and I really enjoyed it. I love films that are medieval in setting, and I always have. This is no exception. This is probably my favorite film I've seen so far. I've enjoyed movies such as this, like Knight's Tale, which is semi-historical, but not really historical, but it's based on um, people's interpretation. Seventh Son is purely myth for lore's sake, and it's epic on all scales. And he tells him there's one scene with a Bogart involved, and oh my gosh, it's so funny. But I'm not going to go into it, but it's just the humor involved, and this is really tremendous. And the spook, he reminds me of so many different characters. I can't quite pin what character he really reminds me of. He's just this kind of iconoclast, and he's full of himself and not despicable, but he's drunk. Well, not really drunk, but he has a drinking problem. He drinks a lot, and he doesn't really have a lot of admirable qualities for a mage, or in this case, what they call a spook. And I would also call him a beast hunter, or a bounty hunter of beasts. I'm not really sure what you would call this. An exterminator. That's not the best way to put it, but there are different level beasts found, creatures found throughout this film. And when he said, "Oh, a ghast is only." It's the level 9 ghast, and I thought Dungeons and Dragons. My mind went Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeons and Dragons. But I mean, I thought, oh god, my nerd's coming out, but can't help it. I like Dungeons and Dragons, always will. I've always played the Enchantress in those games. Yeah, go figure. But anywho, everybody needs a healer on your team. Don't forget that. Anyway, that's all I can say about Seventh Son. It's just marvelously done. It's just the bismuth of filmmaking I've seen this whole year. I know the Jupiter Ascending was really, my favorite film so far this year. It took my breath away. This one did the same thing. I mean, it just literally took my breath away. Just the countryside, the cinematography, the soundtrack, everything involved, especially the dragons. I know the dragons are evil in this one, which I don't like. I prefer more Dragons of Pern or Game of Thrones. I'm not sure if the dragons are considered evil in this respect, but in Pern, it depends on the color of the dragon. But that's basically all I'm going to say about that, because I'm not going to go on a ramble about that, because you'll be bored. But anywho, that's basically all I have to say about Seventh Son. If you like these characters, then I would definitely go see it, because it's well worth your time. It's worth the trip to go to the cinema and see this on the big screen, because the creatures themselves, the magical elements of it, the whole eerie supernatural theme of it is definitely what I enjoy. I've always liked the unknown, and a lot of the unknown has happened in my life. Let me just put it that way. Say the least. I've had a lot of exposure to the unknown, so I am no stranger to this venue. That's basically all I have to say. And next time, live long, prosper. Auf Wiedersehen.